Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. This is the 8th episode of the story, where trained as a sage, the Kyuubi by his side, and more powerful than ever, Naruto seeks to be known to the world, either by respect or by fear. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel after watching the video. So, let us begin. He couldn't describe the sensation at best. He could say it felt familiar. He was soon greeted with a flash or white light, and appearing in front of him, the cage of the mighty Kyuubi no Kitsune. Looking at the cage, he noted that the 5-prong seal that was previously on, was removed. Also, he could not feel the Kyuubi. But then in a sudden burst, he felt the overwhelming aura that was the Kyuubi's chakra. But it was different. Before a raging ball of malice, was not a controlled storm of hatred. As Naruto noted this, a figure came into view inside the cage. Naruto's eyes widened as he saw him. It was him. Sakura sighed, starting to feel exhausted. She had set up traps all around the perimeter, and now her team took refuge within the roots of a great tree. She looked at Sasuke. Sasuke just sat there, impassive. He had not thoughts. No thoughts about the battle. No thoughts about the next course of action. No thoughts about Naruto. It was obvious he was changing. The first thing they noticed was that his whole outfit was in perfect condition. Also, he himself seemed to be getting more muscular, and he was growing slightly, all in a matter of 3 hours. And if that wasn't enough, Naruto had just recently started radiating killer intent, that of a demonic essence. Something was happening to Naruto. If only they knew. X as if the seal never existed, this Naruto walked right out of the cage, stopping when he was but a meter away from the real Naruto. "Who are you?" The other Naruto grinned savagely, his eyes red with a slit. "Who do you believe me to be, mortal?" Naruto's eyes widened. "The Kyuubi, indeed, but before I give you my power, you must prove your pitiful existence to be of worth." Naruto scowled. "And what exactly does that mean?" The Kyuubi, who looked like a clone of Naruto apart from the eyes, reached to his back. He drew his sword, though the bandages did not burst out in wind. They burst out in fire. "Prove to me. You are not worthless." And with that, the Kyuubi rushed forward, his feet so fast it was as if he was gliding. Naruto reacted quickly, drawing his blade and holding it in front of him. Then, he was able to deflect the strike. The Kyuubi slashed again, the swing of his sword a blur. Naruto bent backwards, dodging the slice before the Kyuubi rushed forward, kneeing Naruto in the gut. Naruto doubled over, but the Kyuubi wasted no time as he kneed Naruto again in the face. Then he grabbed Naruto's throat, lifting him into the air, before throwing him hard, his back hitting the bars of the seal which used to contain him. Naruto stood up, but he noted the Kyuubi was not where he once was. Sensing the attack, he ducked, the horizontal slice taking off a few of his hairs. Then Naruto reached out, grabbing the Kyuubi's wrist. He then tensed his hand, his hidden blade flying out, and piercing Kyuubi's wrist. Undeterred, the Kyuubi kicked Naruto at the side of his head, sending him flying. Naruto's eyes widened as he flew through the air, landing hard. He stood quickly, tightening the grip on his sword. He couldn't believe that. He had literally pierced through the Kyuubi's wrist, but it was as if he did not feel it. The Kyuubi had continued his assault as if nothing happened. The Kyuubi blurred once again, appearing in front of Naruto as he swung his blade, glowing with black chakra with a red outline. Naruto blocked the strike, his own sword glowing blue, as the attacks pushed against each other. Then, in a great burst, the Kyuubi pushed Naruto back as Naruto went flying. Naruto flipped in the air, landing, before he a shadow clone formed to his left. Both Narutos ran through seals in a flash, then yelled out. Hellfire Dragon. A dragon of fire, and a dragon of wind, were created from each Naruto, combining to form a true monstrosity as the sheer heat of the attack caused the water at the bottom of the sewer to begin evaporating. The Kyuubi stood as the dragon came, and took the hit as the flames consumed him. "We want Sasuke, please. Take the scroll but don't harm us. You seem to not get us. We don't want your scroll, damn it. We want Sasuke." Sakura grit her teeth. This didn't bode well for her. Sasuke, on the other hand, smirked. Running through hand seals, he ignored Sakura, prepared for this new challenge. Fire style, Phoenix Flower Jutsu XXXXXX. Naruto dispelled his clone. As the flames slowly died down, the Kyuubi stood in the center, a mirror image of Naruto, except his eyes were red. The flames did not burn him as he stood. Naruto grit his teeth, forgetting that the Kyuubi was the sole reason that he himself was immune to almost all fire. The Kyuubi disappeared as Naruto coughed, a fist in his gut. The Kyuubi blurred yet again, appearing behind Naruto and slicing at his back. Naruto put his sword flat on his back, blocking the strike. Then with force, he pushed off, sending the Kyuubi's hand upwards, and opening his guard. Interesting. Naruto grit his teeth, not wasting time as he tried to attack the Kyuubi yet again. Time slowed as Naruto was about to deliver the final blow to the Kyuubi, but he was stopped. The Kyuubi, using his gauntlet, reached out, stopping the sword with his hand. Naruto's eyes widened when in a split second, his blade shattered into pieces, as the Kyuubi's hand now formed a fist. Then in a quick movement, red lightning ignited in the Kyuubi's hand. Then, he struck at Naruto. The Kyuubi jabbed at Naruto's chest, his hand penetrated through. Hard cough. Naruto coughed blood as the Kyuubi wildly yanked his hand out. Then, the Kyuubi prepared to slice his head off. As Naruto's head lobbed off, he promptly turned into a log. Naruto had used a substitution with one of the shards that was left of his sword. The Kyuubi looked behind him at a panting Naruto as a smirk adorned his expression. You could be the devil with that. The Kyuubi lifted his hood over his head, the veil of shadows covering the top half of his face. The Kyuubi was right. He truly did look like the devil. But Naruto had bigger problems. His sword, now broken, was quite a dilemma. Any backup sword he conjured would be no match for the Kyuubi's ancient blade, a replica of his own. Still, Naruto reached into his robe, conjuring a scroll. As he released its content, a sword, pitch-black hilt and blade, popped out. The Kyuubi smirked as it rushed forward, so fast it looked again as if he was gliding. Naruto held his blade horizontally in front of him as he felt the wrecking ball that was the Kyuubi barrel into him. Naruto was being pushed back by the Kyuubi, and soon, the Kyuubi's blade began to glow an eerie black. At this point, Naruto's own blade began to crack. Shit! As the attack commenced, Naruto's blade shattered and a crescent black blade of chakra sliced at his shoulder down his side, sending him flying back. As he landed, the blade disappeared, and blood ran freely from the wound, deep as it was. The pain was immense as Naruto struggled to stand. He was, for a lack of a better term, getting his ass handed to him. The Kyuubi was miles more powerful than he was. His speed a blur to Naruto. And every opening he saw in the Kyuubi's stance after a strike, was gone as he kept on his onslaught. Is that all you have? Naruto grit his teeth, his anger building. Disappear. Naruto disappeared from existence, and as he reappeared in front of the Kyuubi, within an inch of him, he was sure he would be able to land a hit. But as he moved to punch the Kyuubi, his hand went up in a flash, grabbing Naruto by his wrist. His grip hard and non-flinching, Naruto knew his hand was probably bruised by now. Naruto struggled to tense his hand, the hidden blade springing out. But as it extending into the Kyuubi's gauntlet, it promptly shattered into pieces, much to the surprise of Naruto. Then Kyuubi reared back his right hand, his sword hand, and jabbed at Naruto. Stuck, Naruto could only watch as the blade penetrated the left side of his upper chest, just missing his heart. Before the Kyuubi could pull out his blade, Naruto's hand flung outward, grabbing onto the Kyuubi's forearm. The Kyuubi's brow furrowed at this, as Naruto held him tightly. Using brute force, he yanked out the blade, causing more damage as it came out, and forcefully leapt away from Naruto's grip. As the Kyuubi landed, he looked at his prey. His eyes like a predator, dissecting any weakness in his prey, and looking at his very form, deciding on the best way to end it. What he did not register was Naruto's smirk. Kyuubi only faintly registered the slight burn on his right forearm. As he looked there, he saw a seal engraved in his skin. He recognized it. In fact, he was the one that helped Naruto create it. The Kyuubi growled, rushing Naruto once more. Naruto just stood as the Kyuubi was about to slice him once again. Before the Kyuubi could slice Naruto, he found his sword hand being held by a chain. A metal, rusty, chain. It came from the ground, and its unbreakable bond was enough to deter the Kyuubi. The Kyuubi struggled against his shackle as more chains came, wrapping around his other arm, his waist, his legs, and his head. Naruto smirked, as he stood fully and held his arm out, palm up. Blue chakra began gathering, spinning rapidly. The Kyuubi growled, struggling but to no avail. Naruto walked forward using the last of his strength to complete the Rasengan. He then began to run towards the Kyuubi, ready to end the whole thing. Then, it was the Kyuubi's turn to smirk. Naruto's eyes widened as the Kyuubi let out a mighty growl, the ground itself rumbling, parts of the ceiling beginning to fall. Then, he struggled for a moment against his restraints. It only took a few moments, then with a mighty end roar, the Kyuubi broke his arms from his shackles, then his feet. Naruto's eyes widened as the Kyuubi was freed. The Kyuubi wasted no time, as it blurred out of sight, appearing behind Naruto, sword in mid-swing. Naruto reached quickly, turning and thrusting the Rasengan at the Kyuubi. But as the Kyuubi's sword glowed black yet again, he sliced through the Rasengan. Naruto's eyes widened as the blade kept coming, ready to cleave off his head once more. He couldn't do it. He was too tired to make a substitution, and even so, he wouldn't be fast enough. Using disappear again wouldn't work because of the damage to his chakra network. Using it would be without the Kyuubi's chakra. Naruto submitted to his fate, but he noted the slight distortion in the wind around his neck, as if motion came to an abrupt stop. As he looked, he saw that the Kyuubi's blade was a mere centimeter from his neck, but it was stilled. As he looked into the shadowed veil that was the Kyuubi's face, he for the first time in a while, could feel fear creeping in at the back of his skull. "I'm impressed. I will allow you to use my power." As the Kyuubi brought his blade back, Naruto's eyes went upwards into the back of his head, and he fell forwards. The Kyuubi looked at him, before kneeling. His eyes flashing bright red, though always that color. As he did this, his chakra began to flow into Naruto. In a few moments though, a spark, and a reaction as red chakra exploded outward, eclipsing the whole area. XXXXXXXXXXXXXX Sasuke could have easily taken one. Not even one. He could have probably taken two on his own. But three, that was pushing it. And that was the situation Sasuke faced right now. Sakura had been knocked out by the sound kunoichi, and now he was all alone. Damn it, of all the times for Naruto to be unconscious. But the whole battle stopped as an explosion of chakra came from the very tree that Team 7 was resting in. The very tree that Naruto was in. The tree literally was blown up in an explosion of chakra. But alas, this chakra was different. It was menacing. Demonic, powerful. XXXXXXXXXXXX. As the flash and debris died down, the occupants at the field hesitated to move. But as they looked to the tree trunk, expecting to see something there, in reality, there was absolutely nothing. Soon enough, Zaku smirked. So was that the best distraction you could come up with? Sasuke turned his attention as he detected the spike in chakra. Slicing sound wa, but his jutsu was cut off as he was lifted into the air, held by a tight grip on his throat. His teammates' eyes widened as they looked to see the ominous figure who had appeared. He was clothed in all black with red accents, and he wore a hood. His back was to them, and so they could not see his face in the slightest. Zaku's eyes widened, and in a twitch of the figure's wrist, he snapped his neck. The other two's eyes widened as they quickly accessed the situation. Before they knew it, the figure slowly turned to face them. The figure casually tossed away the now dead ninja, as he looked to them. As they looked at the figure, they radiated their fear openly, though they were trying to hide it. It was obviously there. Ridding himself of fear for the moment, Dosu rushed forward, intent on surprising the new arrival, and finishing him off. The figure barely gave him a second glance, blurring out of sight. A scream pierced the clearing as Dosu looked behind him to see Kin, a sword sticking out of her chest. The figure then yanked the sword out, and sliced off her head. Dosu's eyes widened as cold realization set in. He could not defeat this monster. Here. Take our scroll, just don't kill me. Naruto did not speak, instead he blurred out of sight, appearing behind Dosu. He could not feel the slight distortions in the wind around him as he was cut to pieces, courtesy of Naruto's wind scythe. Then in a slow motion, Naruto looked at the body. The carnage he had wrought. Then, he turned to the other person in the clearing. Sasuke's eyes were wide the whole time as he watched the scene. It was one of fear, one of terror. He knew from the moment who he was once he stepped onto the battlefield. But he did not expect such a slaughter. He had seen Naruto fight before, but never had he seen Naruto fight like that. So fast, so swift, so smooth, so effective, a real killer, and when he spoke, Sasuke knew it was an order, and not a suggestion. Wake Sakura. Then we move out, as Sasuke watched Naruto turn and walk towards the body of Dosu to acquire their scroll, he noted something. Naruto's eyes were no longer their cerulean blue, they were red, a demonic blood red. Naruto growled, "What did I ask of you, Sasuke?" Sasuke was surprised by this voice, fear creeping up. He decided it best to just go with it. This new Naruto was not a person he wanted on his bad side. XXXXX. Sasuke and Sakura could only widen their eyes as they watched the scene that had unfolded. After waking up Sakura, the two had merely followed the request of Naruto when he spoke a single word, follow. They did not know where they were going, but alas, they went along with it, trusting in whatever Naruto was planning, and sure enough, they came across another team. The battle was fast, and it was over in a blur. They had the advantage of surprise as Naruto took out one with a kunai to the back of the skull. Then, he blurred, slicing off the head of the other. As the last ninja registered the form of Naruto, a clone popped into existence behind him, his gauntlet hand reaching to the ninja's head, and his heading blade springing out, killing him, and just like that, Team 7 had their heaven scroll. XXXXX. With both a heaven and an earth scroll, Team 7 camped out for the night. Well, at least Sakura and Sasuke did. Naruto though was nowhere to be found. Flashback, I say we set up camp, Sakura spoke. Sasuke nodded, we should rest up, then head to the tower bright and early, hopefully when other teams will be sleeping. Do as you wish, rest does not concern me, Naruto spoke as he turned, jumping towards the thick trees, leaving Sakura and Sasuke confused, and, XXX. As the morning came, Team 7 was up and ready. Sakura and Sasuke geared up, ready to enter the forest. But only one problem. No Naruto. Sasuke sensed someone behind him, and taking a kunai in a flash of movement, he threw it at the person. The figure dodged the kunai as Sasuke turned, facing the new arrival. Kabuto. Kabuto landed, originally jumping to dodge the kunai. Oh, it's you guys, I was planning on sneaking up on you, and I only saw you guys from behind so I didn't know. Sasuke nodded, so, you still need a scroll then? Kabuto shook his head, nope, we have a pair, and the scrolls are with my team right now. I'm supposed to go and meet up with them. Sakura, we should travel together since our third team member is gone, it would make sense. Kabuto nodded, smart idea. So then, where exactly is Naruto? As nobody spoke, it was quite obvious that nobody knew the answer to the question. I am right here. Kabuto straightened up, the voice surprising him as he turned around to see Naruto. He just stood there, his red eyes on Kabuto, never blinking, never keeping his eyes off of him. Naruto! Sakura exclaimed. Naruto continued to stare at Kabuto, before he turned his gaze to Sakura, and spoke. Let us head to the tower. Kabuto, you say your team is there, well, we should not keep them waiting. Kabuto nodded, very well, let's get going. XXXX. You could feel the demonic aura he was radiating. It was suffocating. Just standing close to him, scratch that, just being within his presence, it was tasking. Now, since we have too many Chunin exam participants, we will hold a preliminary round, then those who win their match will be in the final. Author's note, if you are reading this fanfiction, then you know how these battles go. Of course, since the 3 sound ninja that attacked Sasuke are dead, they wouldn't be fighting. These fights aren't that important, except Naruto's. Of course you will just know who makes it to the final, and, XXXX the board flashed with the names of the next 2 combatants. Uzumaki Naruto vs Kiba. Inuzuka. Kiba looked frightened, but he covered it up the best he could and marched down to the arena. He could feel the glares of pity from other combatants, knowing the likely fate which he would soon face. But Kiba remembered. This guy couldn't be so bad. He was the one that rescued them during the mission in that fishing town off the coast of Wave. But Kiba realized as he momentarily saw the red eyes of this person, that this was not the same Naruto. The red eyes, which bore into your very soul, tearing you apart from the inside out. Begin. Throughout the stands, there was only silence. The anticipation for the match was phenomenal. Everybody was watching. More intently though, the teams from Lightning and Rock. Knowing this man firsthand, they were quite curious to see exactly what he would do, though everyone had an underlying feeling that this genin, Kiba, was about to die. Double piercing Fong Akamaru and Kiba jumped, their forms spinning into large tornadoes as they hurled straight towards Naruto. Naruto's eyes flashed from within the shadows of his face, before a shadow clone popped into existence. The shadow clone held his arms forward, 2 red spinning balls of chakra fading into existence. Dual Rasengan. As Naruto jumped away, the other Naruto slammed each Rasengan into one of the incoming tornadoes, the force of the Rasengan and of Kiba and Akamaru's attacks clashing against one another. The Naruto in the air held his arm out, red lightning crackling into existence. XC Guy's eyes widened as he saw the attack. He looked to Kakashi. Kakashi. That attack. You very well know that Guy, I didn't teach him it. Now, that shut him up. XX As Naruto landed, the attack was complete, and he just waited for the right moment. Ninja art, chakra implosion. The Naruto that was clashed with Kiba and Akamaru promptly expelled a large amount of demonic chakra, the force blowing Kiba and Akamaru away as they could no longer sustain their rapid movement and speed to keep in their attack formation. This was when Naruto struck. The Naruto that had released the chakra dispelled in a puff of smoke as the real Naruto, lightning ignited in his hand, blurred out of sight. As Kiba tried to regain his balance in the air, Naruto appeared in front of him. Naruto thrust his hand forward, the lightning-infused hand penetrating Kiba's chest and going out the other side. Kiba coughed blood while in the air as both flew through the air. XXXX The audience was speechless at this. Here was a ninja, who had just potentially killed his own fellow ninja. It was not entirely unheard of, but to see it, was totally different. Naruto, using Kiba as a platform, removed his hand from his chest and placed his feet there, catapulting off and sending Kiba flying to the ground. As he hit the ground hard and rolled as Akamaru barked and rushed to his side. As Naruto landed, he drew his blade, the bandages exploding in a burst of wind. He stalked towards the downed Kiba, ready to end the fight in a blur. Hey-8 appeared in front of Naruto, calm and collected. You have won this fight, Naruto. Naruto took one more glance at Kiba as Kurenai sunshined beside him, kneeling as she looked at his injury. It was pretty severe. From what she could tell, the hole went all the way through the chest, puncturing the lung. And what was worse, was that at the edges of the opening, his skin was charred and burnt, probably from the nature of the lightning chakra. He was also bleeding profusely. Kurenai turned to look at the person who had hurt Kiba like this. Her face was filled with anger. This was the person that had rescued her, and yet he was nothing more than what the council knew him as, a demon. Naruto turned away, the bandages wrapping around his sword as he secured it on his back and walked towards his sensei. XXXXXX, are you sure you can defeat him? Jacob nodded. Rado, he'll be no problem. Last match of the day, you'll be facing that Zensuke guy. Jacob smirked. XXXXXXXXX. Final match, Zensuke vs Jacob. Begin. Jacob and Zensuke stared each other down, neither making the first move. They both knew that often, it was the first move that decided the battle, and more often than not, the first mistake. At the same time, both combatants drew their blades. It was time. Kenjutsu, Infinite Pulse. Jacob deflected the blade of chakra, and rushed towards Zensuk. Zensuk ducked under the initial swing, then countered with his own. Deflected, Zensuk continued striking at Jacob, not giving him a mere moment to catch his breath. Zensuk blurred, appearing behind Jacob mid-swing. Jacob turned, kicking Zensuk's blade as his hand went upward with it, leaving him open. Then, Jacob thrust his sword at Zensuk. Zensuk swerved to the right, but the blade cut through his side, his shirt staining with fresh blood. He paid it no mind though as he rushed Jacob, his sword glowing yellow. Jacob was slightly surprised as the boy's energy, but he was prepared as he ran through seals in a flash, but nobody could have expected what came next. Zensuk's attack went through Jacob as he stopped. His eyes wide soon, the image of Jacob faded and it was obvious that he had just cut through an afterimage. How fast is this guy moving? His question was answered as he felt multiple cuts across his body, as afterimages started appearing all around him. Wasting no time, Zensuk lifted the headband off his left eye, and the room quickly filled with killing intent. Some of the genin in the room had to go down onto their knees, doubling over at the sheer force of the killing intent. Those still standing were watching the fight with interest. Stand, Sasuke. If you cannot stand this you will lose to him. Sasuke grit his teeth and stood up, forcing himself to withstand the image of his death that popped right into his mind. You made it to the next round. One of them may very well be your next opponent. Be wary. Sasuke nodded as he turned his attention to the fight, struggling against the weight of the killing intent in the room. Most of the jounin in the room were actually impressed by the killing intent. It was an old art, the art of killing intent, and one that was looked over by most, but when used at its most deadly, it was truly a wonderful weapon to have in your arsenal. And for one to use it so effectively, so young, it was incredible. Impressive. The voice came from behind Zensuk. As he turned around though, he could tell that all that was left was only an afterimage. But mere killing intent like that isn't enough to faze me. Zensuk instantly ducked as the blade went over his head, a clearly surprised Jacob the source of the attack. How did he dash? His thoughts were cut off as he was elbowed in the gut. Zensuk wasted no time as he went for a jab with his sword. Though he was slightly surprised as he went through Jacob again. He swung his blade to the right, parrying a blow from Jacob, and he struck at his head. Jacob dodged and struck at Zensuk. They exchanged blows, parries, and blocks. Nobody giving ground to the other. Their speed was so much so that they were only a blur. Sasuke struggled to keep up, as did most of the genin in the room. But Naruto, his keen eyes saw everything, and he couldn't help but notice something was very off as Naruto whispered the words, Kai. The true scene became known to him. Both combatants still stood in the exact same position as when the battle had started. Zensuk rushed at Jacob, jabbing and thrusting, though not losing his stance. No matter what, he couldn't hit the guy. And it was getting very annoying. He decided that he may have to reveal his true power. Naruto examined the battlefield, and as he let the Kyuubi's conscious mend with his own, he began to process exactly what was going on. Genjutsu, a simple genjutsu. They are merely fighting in an illusion, and obviously, Jacob is the one controlling it. Since Jacob is only releasing a minuscule amount of chakra, almost unnoticeable, while Zensuk is releasing killing intent like hell, and also expending chakra, a simple genjutsu worked to a deadly effect. It must be extremely powerful, considering that the mortal has his bloodline limit. Naruto agreed, his eyes never leaving the two combatants. Kakashi had figured it out. What surprised him more, was that Naruto had figured it out before he did. An area effect genjutsu, targeted at everyone but concentrated solely on his opponent. Deadly indeed. It seemed that most of the jounin had gotten it. Looking across the room, he knew that Jacob's teammates had also dispelled the genjutsu, and lastly, this one Suna kid, the one that had fought Lee Gaara. There was something about him that truly unnerved Kakashi, and taking words from a Suma student, he was quite troublesome. But even so, this kid Jacob, his genjutsu was truly on a whole other level. His eyes flashed yellow for a split second before a blade of condensed chakra in the shape of a sword appeared, floating beside him. Then, another appeared. As the two blades of yellow chakra floated around him, he rushed Jacob. The two yellow blades moved faster, slashing at him. He blocked both, but then Zensuk came in, swinging his blade with deadly precision. 3 blades at once, a challenge indeed. It was time to end it. XX Naruto did not miss Zensuke's eyes flashing yellow. Then, 2 blades condensed out of nowhere, taking the shape of swords as they floated, circling around Zensuke. Naruto's memory flashed back to the moment when a blade had pierced him in the stomach. It was the same as this, so this was the trick that Zensuke had up his sleeve. Interesting. The only reason that Jacob was able to keep it up was the power of the 8 tails. Without it, he would not have been able to muster up the sheer amount of chakra it would take to keep up the genjutsu. Jacob swerved and weaved, dodging strike after strike. Finally, a chakra blade came down on his shoulder, digging into him. His eyes widened as he quickly faded out of existence, appearing behind Zensuke. But that last attack had definitely hit Naruto's keen eye did not miss the slight spike in the chakra of the 8 tails that came from Jacob. And he did not miss the slight contortions of pain in Jacob's face. For just a split second the genjutsu had almost collapsed, though one thing confused Naruto. Itsuro had spoken of over half of the 8 tails chakra being infused in Orochimaru. Jacob had told him he also had over half, and that left Killer Bee, who held the soul and chakra of the true 8 tails, meaning either Itsuro or Jacob had exaggerated in their estimation. And judging by the display, and by what happened in the forest, he was guessing it was Jacob. Jacob attempted to slice Zensuke, who had his back turned. He did not expect a condensed blade of yellow chakra to materialize between him and his opponent. He grit his teeth as his blade and the blade of chakra clashed, giving Zensuke enough time to turn around. He grabbed the hilt of the chakra blade, and the blade glowing even brighter yellow, he attacked. Kenjutsu, Infinite Pulse Boom XXX. The combatants still had not moved from their respective starting spots. This was starting to get ridiculous, but truly, such a skill in genjutsu, if he matured and grew, he would turn into quite a problem in the future. Naruto could already see the implications he may hold in the coming invasion. Kakashi had probably thought about it too, though he wouldn't admit it. Konoha actually might fall. XXXX. As the light and dust dimmed down, Zensuke scanned for Jacob, though he was nowhere in sight just then. His eye alerted him to an attack, but it was too fast as a yellow sword went through his gut. Soon, more came, going through various parts of his body. He coughed blood as he looked down, and what he saw scared him. They were his own blades. The chakra in his eye spiked enormously, almost burning. KAI, XXXXXX. As the genjutsu faded around Zensuke, his eye warned him of an attack and he ducked under the horizontal slash, much to the surprise of Jacob. Then, Zensuke attempted to slice at the now exposed Jacob, but he stopped mid-swing. Dropping his blade, he coughed up blood as he fell to his knees, pupils dilating and moving all over his eye. He looked down, seeing that the injuries that he had were still bleeding profusely, but it had been a genjutsu, hadn't it? Zensuke collapsed with a thud. XXXXXX. The combatants still hadn't moved an inch. For a second, Zensuke's chakra spiked enormously, and Naruto had thought he might have broken the genjutsu, but as they still stood still, he knew the genjutsu was still intact. Either that, or the genjutsu was multiple layered. If that was the case, then even if Zensuke had broken through the first layer, the second layer probably mimicked reality. Even though it was still a genjutsu, this Jacob, he definitely had to be watched. Naruto's eyes widened momentarily as Zensuke's legs gave way, and he fell to his knees. Then, to the ground, unconscious. XXXXXXXX. Winner Jacob Itame. Jacob took a moment to look at his fallen enemy, then he began to walk back to the balcony. Most of the genin in the room were confused at what they had just seen, as they saw what Zensuke saw. It was strange how the battle kind of just faded away as Zensuke's chakra spiked to them. It was all real fools. As Jacob returned to the balcony, he looked over to Naruto. They locked gazes. Naruto's cold gaze, his red eyes ever piercing. Jacob smirked, knowing that Naruto now knew his true power facing him would truly be something indeed. XXXXXXXXXX. Okay, so from the numbers you guys picked, here are the matches for tomorrow. Match 1, Naruto vs Neji. Match 2, Sasuke vs Gaara. Match 3, Kankuro vs Shino. Match 4, Temari vs Shikamaru. Match 5, Jacob vs Sanako. Match 6, Rado vs Nell. Okay, since we have a 12 people cough, our brackets will go like this. The winners of matches 1 and 2 will face the winners of matches 3 and 4 will face the winners of matches 4 and 5 will also face. Now, 2 of the victors will face each other, while the third will face the winner of the other one. It's the best we can do with our number of combatants. Do you understand? Various nods went throughout the room of Jen, and Hayate nodded. Very well. Then I officially declare the second stage of the Chunin exams complete. Finals are in 1 month. You may train in this time, but for now, you will be escorted out of the Forest of Death. It would soon be time. You wanted to talk, Sasuke. Hi, is it about your training for the next month? I've already got that covered, even down to Kenjutsu training. No, it's not about that, it's Naruto. Kakashi sighed. Well, it wasn't hard to miss. Naruto's eyes held bloodlust, and he was always leaking killer intent. Just from seeing him after the forest, he could tell something was off. So then tell me exactly what happened in the forest. Hi, XXXXXXXX. Swiping his blood across the stone tablet, he watched as the lake parted, revealing a circular passageway. Naruto jumped in, Kane following suit as they descended down, the rushing waters closing the pathway behind them. As they landed, they stood to face him. He knew they were coming. Naruto, who is this you've brought with you? Merely a friend who requires your assistance. I need you to alter his seal. Jean nodded. And so, what beast does he hold? Kane spoke up. I hold the 5-tailed beast. Jean nodded. I could feel your chakra way back when you fought Naruto. Your seal needs to be fixed. There's no doubt about it. Even now, you are leaking its chakra every time you use it. You are damaging your system exponentially, though you're lucky your demon repairs you. Kane nodded. Now then, do you have the seal key? Naruto spoke. You are a seal's master, you will have to do without it. Jin's brow furrowed. That complicates things. I can't guarantee it will be a success, but alas, I will try. Jin spoke to Naruto yet again. And I know there's another reason you're here. Yes, Naruto spoke. I require the use of your spacetime chamber. Her thoughts were on many things, but all of them seemed to revolve around just one thought, one person, Uzumaki. Naruto. It didn't take a genius to figure out that Naruto had changed, but the question, what the hell happened? The only thing Sakura remembered was fighting those 3 sound genin, and falling unconscious. Then she remembered being woken up by Sasuke, but while she was asleep, she still remembered she dreamt of her own death, and even when she woke up, she had a feeling why, just like that jutsu that Orochimaru used in the forest. Naruto's killing intent must have gotten to her, but it was strange. The killing intent was infinitely stronger. It was different. Naruto was different. Well, that was an obvious statement, but Sakura knew, the secret of Naruto was one that the whole of Konoha kept, and she was now determined to figure it out. XXXX. Next day, Sasuke panted as he climbed over the edge. The sun was just rising, and as he got up, laying his back on the flat top of the mountain, a shadow loomed over him. Kakashi? Hayate. Kakashi will be joining us soon. We start Kenjutsu spars now. Yeah, this was looking to be a fun day. XXX. The library in the Hokage's tower was the largest in the whole village, and this is where Sakura found herself at the moment. Going through files, she felt the need to look for the secret, and so, she went to the K section. Kyubi. There was an abnormal lack of books on the Kyubi. In fact, there was not even one. Slightly disappointed, Sakura tried something else. In the U section, she could not find what she was looking for. Naruto's last name was Uzumaki, so if she could have found something. Sakura sighed, before turning around on the other side of the room. Shuffling through books on the shelf, Sakura recognized this girl, the 4 ponytails on the back of her hair, a definite trademark. Sakura walked over, hoping to at least converse, but she had a feeling it wouldn't end well. Hey, slightly surprised by someone addressing her, the kunoichi turned around. Who she saw surprised her. Hey, it's, Sakura, she intervened. I'm on Naruto's team. Temari nodded. She should have known. So whatcha lookin' for? Sakura asked, genuine curiosity on her face. For a second, the Suna kunoichi looked hesitant to answer, but then she spoke. I'm looking for a book in the J section. Need help? I've been to the library a few times. I could probably help you find it faster. The Suna kunoichi nodded. Yeah. I'm looking for Jinchuriki. Sakura's eyes widened. She had definitely heard that word before. Dodging and weaving, he took out his enemies with brutal efficiency. A swing over his head, Naruto jabbed at the man's elbow with his gauntlet. As it twisted the wrong way, he stuck his sword through the enemy's arm, then removed it, only to slice off his head. The next one came. Naruto ducked, grabbing his hand. He yanked, forcing the opponent to come stumbling towards Naruto. Off-balanced, he could put up no defense as Naruto plunged his blade into his heart. Taking out the blade in a quick movement, he pivoted, blocking a strike from behind. Using his own blade, he pushed his enemy's blade to the right, exposing him. He reached with his gauntlet, grabbing his enemy by the neck. Then, he let loose his hidden blade. He forced the corpse downward, spinning on its back and rolling off before ducking under another slice. He then grabbed the enemy's sword, sending wind chakra up the blade. As it made contact with the wielder, he promptly burst, cut to shreds by the violent nature of wind. Two attacked from each side, double-teaming him as they ran, and the first one arrived slightly early. As he swung, Naruto, using scary speed, grabbed onto his forearm, and with brute strength, flipped the enemy over himself, and over the attacker from behind. In this split second, the second enemy attacked. As he came in with a punch, Naruto caught it, and forced his hand downward. Then, Naruto rolled over the guy, and stood up on his back. Using it as a catapult, he launched to the first attacker, whom was still in midair, and grabbed him by the ankle. With great strength, Naruto flung him back. The second attacker. As the two hostiles collided, they both dispelled in a puff of smoke. Naruto's form was top-notch. His eyes, one of demons, his blade, the devil's weapon, his skill, the judge of death. Come at me. And with that, more Naruto clones charged. Jinchuriki, asked Sakura. I've heard that somewhere before. Temari nodded. Do you know what they are? Sakura shook her head truthfully. She had no idea in the slightest. Do you? Sakura asked back. In truth, Sakura hoped Temari knew. Her curiosity was truly beginning to get the better of her. Temari slowly nodded, and proceeded to fill in. Sakura, from what I know, Jinchuriki are containers of demons. They house them. The demons live within them. They can draw on the demon's chakra too. A demon? You mean, like the Kyuubi no Kitsune? Temari nodded in realization. His Sakura like a brick. Naruto, XXXXXXXXX. The next day, his eyes blurred, his gut burned. It felt as if someone had lit his stomach on fire from the inside. Kane struggled to sit up, realizing he was in a bed still. He tried to, but the pain. You need not stand. Kane looked over, slightly surprised at the figure in the doorway. Jean, Kane spoke, acknowledging his presence. Jean nodded. Walking towards Kane, he stood over his bed. Then spoke. The sealing went as planned. I reconstructed your seal to be similar to Naruto's, though of course, nobody could hope to have matched the quality of Naruto's seal. Kane nodded. What exactly does that mean for me? Jean continued. The bijou will only release chakra under your command, and it will not leak as it used to. Also, its demonic influence will be severely limited. But there is one problem. Kane's brow furrowed. What? Changing the seal has had one consequence. Your bloodline limit, the one which allowed you to control chakra in any form, whether it be wood manipulation or ice. Kane's eyes widened. That was his trump card, but the good news is that it may not be entirely gone. Go on, Kane spoke. The eye of intent, it has changed, even I can tell, and I have a feeling that it may have something to do with your bloodline. Head to the spacetime chamber and train with Naruto. You will find out soon enough. Wait, it's possible that all of this is mere folklore, yes? Temari looked at Sakura. Do you think it is? After seeing him? Good question. If I hadn't known better, I would have just said he was the devil incarnate. Maybe that was a bit much, but he's not a bad guy. No, I mean how he fights, and the way he portrays himself. Tell me you're not intimidated to the point that you would go out of your way to avoid him. Sakura got her there, though that may be true. I'm sure even you have yet to see his true colors. How can you be so sure? Asked Sakura. So there's no hope for him? Then I never said that. Do not fret, we will meet again, and perhaps I may be able to help you then. Just a feeling, I guess. XXX. The clones all dispelled in synchronization as Kane walked in. The evidence of Naruto's training was his blood-stained clothes, ripped and tattered, and the scratches along his skin. You seek answers, Kane. Answers I do not have, but answers that I can help you with. Sit. And with that, Naruto sat down cross-legged. Kane followed suit. As they sat, Naruto closed his eyes, patiently waiting. Kane watched Naruto as his eyes flung open, revealing a red iris slit with a horizontal rectangle going through it. Also, he had red eyeshadow around his eyes. Can you activate it? Kane guessed what he was talking about, and responded, I have not tried. Well, try then. Feeding chakra to his eyes, he attempted to bring forth his Jujutsu, but no luck. Naruto nodded at this. Very well, we shall peer into your mind. Demons have been around many a more years than us. They will likely know. And with that, Naruto's eyes pierced into Kane, and Kane was not able to look away. It was not as if he was trapped. He just could not take his gaze off of Naruto's eyes. There was something holding him there, and as he looked into the black slit of Naruto's eye, he soon found himself in the dark corridors of his own seal chamber. Welcome boy. XXXXX Sasuke collapsed onto the floor, exhaustion and the drainage of his entire supply of chakra to blame. He had been working like hell, perfecting his kenjutsu stance, upping his chakra control and speed, and learning the manipulation for the Chidori, flashback, as to give you something to look forward to. This is the jutsu I will be teaching you. Kakashi performed 3 hand seals, before he grabbed the underside of his right hand with his left hand. The palm of his right hand was up, his fingers slightly cupped. Chakra began to gather, then, it ignited in a display of electricity. But Sasuke's only thought was that it looked too familiar. Who had he seen use that jutsu? Yes, he had seen it at the preliminaries and it was used by Sasuke frowned. Naruto, XXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. Altogether, there were 4 presences in the large seal chamber, himself being 1, 2 Kane recognized, but the last one felt only vaguely familiar. As he turned, he saw Naruto. Behind Naruto, another hooded figures. His eyes flashed red under his hood. He looked behind him, seeing his seal. It looked refurbished, the bars of the cage a lovely diamond. Kane smirked, then looked back at Naruto. We're in my subconscious. Naruto nodded. I'm sure you are wondering the identity of the presence behind me. Kane nodded. You know him as the Kyuubi no Kitsune. This was a surprise. The Kyuubi? Isn't the Kyuubi a fox? Alterations in my seal caused the Kyuubi's chakra to fuse with mine, and his own soul to also fuse. We are not perfectly together, as we are still 2 separate entities, but it grants me power beyond the limits of man. Kane nodded, slightly amazed at the prospect. Powers beyond the limits of man, an amazing feat to brag about. Now to talk of your Jujutsu, I believe that the 5 tails should know best. Kane turned to his demon, expectant, and sure enough he began. I analyzed Kane's blood, and I did find the eye of intent in its entirety is gone. What? But its DNA still runs through Kane's blood, but as part of a completely new Jujutsu. This caught Kane's, as well as Naruto's attention. It will reveal itself like any other Jujutsu, and when it comes, be ready. I know not what it does, but with demonic power infused, the power of an already complete Jujutsu, and the power of your previous Kekkei Genkai, I can only imagine indeed. XXXXXXXXX. A knock on the door surprised Jean. Before he stood though, he soon felt the chakra signature that his seals had detected. As he opened the door, he was not surprised to see no one else, but the Toad Sannin, Jiraiya, garbed in his usual outfit. Jiraiya smirked. Ah, I had a feeling they were here. Let me guess, the space-time chamber? Jean nodded, and he knew exactly what was coming next. And yet you still don't teach me how to build one of those. Jean shook his head. A space-time chamber, a room which has a separate time and space to ours, and one that moves faster. If you spend a day out here, then in the chamber a month would have passed, and do you know how useful that would be to Konoha? Yes, but do you know the devastating side effects of its overuse? In fact, Jiraiya did know if one spent too long in the chamber, their mind would grow too accustomed to the change in space and time, and when they returned, nerves in the brain would be cut, and the brain could altogether shut down. What are they doing in there? Naruto was training. I had to alter Kane's seal as to make it easier for him to make use of the 5 tails also. It seems he may have developed his own Jujutsu. At the price of his Kekkei Genkai, Jiraiya's eyes widened. A new Jujutsu. That will have major implications on Konoha if it is found that he can pass it on through blood. Then, Jean nodded. Kane would be getting a very nice seat of power soon. How long have they been in there? Well, Naruto has been in for the past 2 days, so then 2 months. Indeed, Kane just entered a few hours ago if I presume correctly. So, how strong will Naruto be once he comes out? Jean shook his head. Not strength Jiraiya today, he merely trains for absolute control. The strength will come with it. Jiraiya looked at Jean, before turning, and walking to the kitchen. Get open the safe cabinet. I need to talk with Naruto when he finishes. XXXX. Just a feeling, I guess. Just a feeling. What do you think of Naruto, Temari-san? Temari was surprised at the question. It was a question she never thought she would need to answer, a question that she didn't have an immediate answer for. Naruto, I mean. He's, well. Naruto is Naruto, Naruto is Naruto. He's a unique guy, and from the Chunin exams, he's not one I want as my enemy, though it seems that will soon be the case, Temari thought, sighing. Naruto is Temari. The voice caused Temari to turn as he saw her brother walking towards her. Kankuro. What are you doing here? Baki wants us back to discuss something, but that was when he noticed Sakura, his eyes furrowed. Come on sis, let's go, Temari nodded. Guess I have to go, Sakura. And with that, the two siblings left. Sakura watched as they left, looking towards the lone book that Temari had pulled out. It was titled, The Secret of Jinchuriki, and as she opened the book, she began to scan through, looking for something she could directly link to Naruto. She found it. Hosts often take on an aspect of the demon they hold, whether it be the nature of their own chakra, a physical aspect, or something mental. She distinctly remembered from the Chunin exams Naruto's eyes were blood red. 2 weeks later, Jiraiya and Jin at in the kitchen as they conversed about ideas for the new edition of Ika Paradise. That was until Jin stopped. Kane has returned. And with that, they both stood, heading downwards to the entrance of the spacetime chamber. As they went down, they saw a figure collapsed on the floor, eyes widening. They ran to him, kneeling and checking for a pulse. After a few moments, they came to a conclusion that it was mere chakra exhaustion. Kane, you push yourself too hard, Jiraiya responded. Probably the only reason cause he's trying to keep up with Naruto, who, as you can see, is still inside. 14 days had passed. Meaning 14 months. Kane had altogether trained for 14 months, and yet Naruto was still inside. How long would Naruto train for? Jin only hoped Naruto knew his own limits. 2 weeks of training had gotten Sasuke pretty far. He was, actually, impressed with his own work, his stance, almost flawless, but of course, picked apart easily by Hayate. His speed, now at the level at which it could challenge Lee's, and finally, the lightning manipulation and chakra control for the Chidori practiced enough that he could form the attack and hold it for a few moments. But there was one more week left, a week in which he could perfect his stance, a week in which he could up his speed, becoming outright faster than Lee, a week in which he could perfect his Chidori, and a week in which he could get closer to challenging Naruto. How did training go? A good question, one which Kane did not exactly know the answer to. It went well indeed, but he wasn't sure if that was a good thing, considering the nature of his training. While I had ample time to perfect my Kenjutsu stance with my dual blades, also, I was able to master the Rasengan, and I have begun to understand how my demon works, and drawing on its power has become simpler. And what of your new Dojutsu? Kane sighed. It has revealed itself, but the damage to my eye it causes, what? If I use it too much, I will go blind. How is this so? Asked Jiraiya. Naruto gave me a synopsis. My Dojutsu has stages. As of right now, it is merely demonic chakra merging with cells of my previous Keki Genkai, and also with the DNA of the Eye of Intent, creating a different mixture of chakra. Now, it is raw and unkept, making drawing on its power painful, but Naruto has said that if I am able to control it, then I may be able to unlock a second stage, which would be a more refined version of my eye. And just how exactly are you to go about that? Jin asked. Kane sighed again. Naruto has a theory, it was his only one, but it's also a long shot. He believes that the only way for me to unlock the second stage is to use my eye to the point where I go blind, thus triggering the activation of the second stage. Jiraiya's eyes widened. That means that if he was wrong though, Kane nodded, then I would be blind. It was a long shot, very long indeed, one that he could very easily miss. So what will you do? Asked Jin. A pause. I'm gonna take that shot. XXXX. A week later, the finals of the Chunin exams, only 2 days away. The resounding sound of the door to the chamber came, and naturally, Jin, Jiraiya, and Kane rushed downwards, eager to get a glimpse of the completed Naruto. As they reached the basement, their eyes never leaving the hooded figure in the center of the room, they could see blonde locks from his hood, signaling that his hair was pretty big. His outfit was no different, but his eyes seemed an even more demonic shade of red. Impossible as it sounds, as he moved, it seemed as if he glided across the floor. He stopped as he came in front of the three. He then spoke. Kane, it is time we returned. We should be able to make it back just in time for my match. Wait, Naruto. Before you leave we must discuss. Naruto nodded. Let us discuss upstairs. Sarutobi gave me the breakdown of your analysis on our situation, though I'm impressed with your strategic knowledge. You forgot about one person, the Kazekage. Alright, I had not told Sarutobi this. I plan on assassinating the Kazekage in his booth before the battle even begins. His sense of battle dulled, it will be a simple task, and what of the Hokage? He will not be assassinated easily. So I had planned for Naruto to face him in combat, but knowing the Hokage's strength, I'm not sure Sarutobi would come out on top. So, do you have a backup plan, in case Sarutobi-sensei fails? Hi, I will defeat the Hokage myself if push comes to shove. What? You overreact. Wait and hear my train of thought. You'll be exhausted from fighting Killer Bee. And you expect me to believe you can take on the Hokage directly afterwards? I have a jutsu that will seal his power. If I can merely activate it, then the Hokage will become a simple target. Though one minor setback after facing Killer Bee. You are right with the notion that I will most likely be exhausted. Performing that seal directly after may kill me, but most likely it will only render me unconscious. I would require an aide to get to a safe location. Jiraiya nodded. I can get a jounin to look after you, Genma. Perhaps he's always been very reliable. Naruto nodded. And there is one more thing we must take into account. Jiraiya looked on, waiting for Naruto to speak. The three genin from Kumo and from Iwa. Jin looked strangely at Naruto. Surely genin would pose little threat when compared to the other threats. Naruto nodded. This is true, but that does not mean they are not a threat. I am a genin, and I am on even footing with high-level jounin, possibly even Kage level, since I consider Killer Bee to be of that stature. Kane, and I? You are strong, but brash. You will need refinement but more training, and you will become the threat that even Kages will fear. Is that all? Asked Jiraiya. A nod was the response from Naruto. Very well, we must be off then. Looking over Konoha from the top of the Hokage mountain, his thoughts were apathetic. He held no thoughts, except for one, the single thought that Itsuro. He did not turn even as he addressed his newcomer. Zack, what brings you here? Disturbing news. Naruto had spoken of his plan to assassinate the Kazekage, but I've just found out Orochimaru had impersonated the Kazekage. Itsuro nodded. That does change things. Get a message to Naruto, tell him of the change of events and tell him that he need not worry of the Kazekage now. And also tell him we will give our assistance to any Konoha ninjas facing high-ranking foes, but only if it can be done so from the shadows. Zack nodded, as his form blurred out of sight. Itsuro continued to look over the vast village of Konoha. His thoughts, Konoha, you will soon be mine. The sun began to overlook the horizon, the warmth of its rays a comfort. The calm before the storm. The lake shimmered in the sunlight, its golden reflection upon the lake surface. Times like this, times of peace, were times Naruto loved, but also hated. But he knew that today would bring him many people to kill, many to dismember, and in the end, it would all be for a greater peace. But Naruto was bothered by one thing, one person to be exact. Itsuro. Naruto knew that if anyone shouldn't be trusted, it was him, and yet he put his trust in him, and the results proved to Naruto's liking. But there was just something about him. Something Naruto found off. Was it the fact that he kept his face hidden? Naruto himself did that, so that couldn't be it. Perhaps it's that he felt threatened at their first meeting. Naruto was powerless. In fact, the way the encounter went, Itsuro did not even have to lift a finger. He merely left Naruto to an underling, and Naruto still couldn't lay a finger on him. On Alex. If Alex was any testament to how strong Itsuro could be, then he was in serious trouble. My beautiful home, Jin commented. Naruto looked at the man, then back at the lake. It was beautiful. Today is a momentous day, the day that will decide the fate of Konoha, the day that will decide our futures. Naruto looked at each of them. First, he looked at Jiraiya. A Sannin of Konoha, Toad Sage, and an extremely powerful ninja, Kage level. Then to Kane, another extremely powerful ninja for his age, his skill top-notch, if not only a bit unrefined. Nothing that experience would not fix. The host of the five-tailed beast, powerful beyond belief, at least jounin level, if not more. When he taps into his beast. He looked at Jin, a seals master extraordinary. His knowledge of seals rivaled only by the fourth Hokage, and by Daisu of the Hidden Lightning, Jin's brother in battle. His seals were amazingly helpful, and did a variety of things, all to kill an opponent at least jounin level, if not a low Kage. Then he turned his back to them, walking to the shore. They wondered what he was doing. When he stopped where the water met shore, he peered into the water, and what he saw was his own reflection, and lastly, him. Uzumaki. Naruto knowledge of seals. That trumps Jiraiya of the Sannin, the Kyuubi by my side. My mastery of Kenjutsu and ninjutsu. A high jounin level ninja with a bit more time and experience will definitely become a Kage level ninja. Looking at his face one last time, he reached up, grabbing his hood and pulling it over his head. Soon, his face was shrouded by the shadows. Then, he reached into his pocket, pulling out his Foxsage mask. And placing it, he was no longer the man from the reflection. He turned to face the rest of the group. His new identity dawned. He spoke, "We will return to Konoha at once. We will make haste. We will talk of detail on the way." And with that, Naruto jumped into the trees, Jiraiya, Kane, and Jin following. The nobles were beginning to arrive as Konoha began to spring into life, and the sun made its way into the sky. The finals would begin promptly at 10 o'clock. Sakura walked, Ino beside her. It was 9:20. As they made their way to the stadium, she knew it would be packed. And she wanted good seats to see the fights more than anything. She wanted to see Sasuke's fight and Naruto's fight, not just because they were her teammates. Part of it was because she knew that if she was going to get entertainment out of any matches, it would probably be one of theirs. "Hey Sakura, have you seen Sasuke this whole month?" Sakura was slightly surprised by the sudden question, but responded hastily. "No, he went somewhere with Kakashi to train for this whole month." Ino's eyes widened. "He's been training exclusively with your sensei. How strong is he gonna be when he arrives?" Sakura knew the truth, and she spoke it. "He'll still be weak compared to Naruto. Heck, even compared to Kane. They also went abroad to train. Imagine how strong they would have become." That stopped Ino in her tracks as she recalled her memory of Naruto. The same Naruto who had almost killed Kiba, the same Naruto that radiated his killing intent like it was sport, the same Naruto that she knew could slice open her throat if he was given reason to. Perhaps he would still, even if he had no reason other than boredom. Ino shivered. The very thought of him chilled her to the bone. He was an enigma, and a nightmarish one at that. He was someone that she would rather keep a distance from. "Sakura, that Naruto guy, how is he?" Ino was nervous, but she had no clue why. Sakura was able to catch on though. "You're wondering what Naruto is like, and how I could ever be on a team with him, right? I guess you wouldn't believe it if I said he wasn't as bad as everyone thinks." Ino shook her head. "You need a better one than that." "Sakura, why don't you talk to him?" asked Sakura. "It's not like he's gonna kill you for doing that. You never know." Ino responded, "Better safe than sorry, isn't that right?" Sakura shook her head. "There's nothing scary about him if you get to know him." Sakura herself though questioned the statement she had just made. "Says he's a killer, aren't we all?" Ino: "Yes. Naruto is a killer, but that's exactly what he's supposed to be. He embodies Shinobi." Ino held no response to that remark. She had to admit though, Sakura did have a point. "Anyways, let's just try to enjoy today, Ino. Today'll be fun. We get to cheer on our friends as we watch them fight." Ino nodded. Yes, today would be a good day if only they knew. Sasuke stood at the edge of the cliff, the expansion of green before him. He could see Konoha from this point. Places like this were few and far between. The reason for that is because it offered enemies a perfect viewpoint to sufficiently plan an attack on Konoha. But still, Sasuke had to admit, the view was quite nice. Enjoying the view, Sasuke? Turning around, Sasuke came face to face with none other than Hatake Kakashi, his Jounin sensei. He looked at Kakashi, then turned again, looking over the expanse. "Kakashi, will we make it back in time?" I smiled. "I've got everything planned." Sasuke. Just then, Hayate finished packing up the tent. He sealed it in a scroll, then joined Kakashi and Sasuke as he came. Kakashi spoke. "I've got to thank you again for helping Sasuke with his kenjutsu this past month." Hayate nodded. "No problem, I don't mind teaching anyone with talent." Kakashi: "I smiked. Then we best be off." Hayate nodded. "Shall we take the fast way down?" Sasuke smirked. "You know it." Hayate smiled, and took a step. Hayate's heart pounded as he took the step. He froze mid-step. Sasuke and Kakashi's eyes widened as he froze. Then in a flash, Hayate's left hand reached for his chest as he clutched it. Then, he began to fall backwards. Kakashi moved swiftly, catching Hayate before he hit the ground. He placed him on the ground softly, then listened for a heartbeat. It was slowing. Kakashi's eyes widened as he thought of what to do. He wouldn't be able to make it to Konoha fast enough to get sufficient help. He had to do something now. Thinking quickly, Kakashi lifted up Hayate's shirt, placed his hand on Hayate's chest, then pumped lightning chakra similar to how a spark can restart a heart. The lightning sparked as Hayate's chest went skyward. Then he started to convulse. "Kakashi, do something." Kakashi was under pressure as he contemplated pumping another round of chakra into Hayate, but then, the convulsions suddenly stopped and all was still. Kakashi looked at Hayate, then put his ear to his chest, trying to find a heartbeat there was none. Hey 8 was dead. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX superiors who to watch for in the future, and who deserves to move up in the ranks, and take the title of Chunin. Genin in the Chunin exams are notified of the high chance of serious injury or death during the Chunin exams, and by agreeing to that, they are allowed to participate. The Chunin exams are held in a different Shinobi village every 6 months. It is chosen randomly, and after the last Chunin exam of the year, the next 2 hosting villages are instantly notified. This is how we decide where the Chunin exams will be. Each village does something different. While some will make each exam obvious, an obvious first, second, and third, some will do it in secret. Many years ago, Konoha made it so that the location to sign up for the Chunin exam was hidden, and the participants only had so much time to find it. That was secretly the first exam. Now, the Chunin exams must consist of 3 exams. One must test their intelligence and information gathering skills. Another must test their skills in survival and mission protocol. Lastly, the third test is always a test of combat, whether it be in teams or alone. Usually it is an individual contest as to test individual skills, but sometimes villages allow teams to fight other teams, therefore also assessing their ability to work well together in a team. The winner of the third exam will be a prime person to become Chunin, though it's not always possible they will. In some cases, the person who won the exam was proved to be unworthy of the title of Chunin. You can be banned from taking the Chunin exams ever again, but that can only be deemed by your village leader. It cannot be stopped by any outward villages. The only plausible way to stop a genin from another village from taking the Chunin exam is issuing a kill on sight order, which will thereby discourage the genin's participation. This has not happened though, since a blonde boy with blue eyes from Suna tried to enter the Chunin exams, which were held in Iwa. He was assassinated the night he arrived. The Chunin exams is meant to represent war in times of peace. It is to show which village has the most powerful future, and what village is to be feared. Of course, all villages are to be feared. But of course, if you had a Kage-level genin show himself in the Chunin exams, attack on the village would be recalled. The daimyo of the land and nobles are all invited to attend the Chunin exams. Normal civilians and ninja are the ones who mostly fill the stands on that day. They are all there for the same reason, to watch for the future of said village that the Chunin exams are taking part in. For any Chunin participant reading this, good luck to you as you partake in the Chunin exams. It will be tough, and there is a chance you will die, but know that the most important characteristic as a Chunin is not strength but confidence. Minato Namikaze's age, 17 rank. Jounin. The crowd was wild and loud, cheering for the participants to come onto the stage, which was the battlefield. Ginma stood in the center of the large arena, as he called the names of the first 2 combatants, Hyuga Niji vs Uzumaki Naruto. Even as Niji began to make his way to the battlefield, he was slightly anxious. He saw the sheer power and skill Naruto possessed, and he was intimidated, but perhaps fate truly was on his side today. It would seem as if Naruto had decided not to show arrogance. Niji smirked as he walked towards Ginma, ready to claim his soon-to-be win by forfeit. But then suddenly, the sky began to go dark. Ginma looked up, the weather a strange phenomenon. Niji also looked up, curious to see the cause. Nothing, the sky was just beginning to go dark. Very strange indeed. But then, the sky lit up with red lightning, then a single bolt came down, striking the ground with a might force. Ginma had to shield his eyes, as did most in the audience, at just how bright the flash was. Then as the light died down, a figure stood in the center of it all. He was garbed in all black as usual, with a hood that hid his face, his identity. His back was turned to Niji, as he slowly turned his body, then took a step. So he was facing Niji, and Niji got to see it in all its glory, the red eyes of Uzumaki Naruto. Niji's eyes widened as he locked gazes with Naruto. For some reason, he couldn't release his gaze. They just stared at each other. There was something magnetic about that gaze. It just did not sit well with Niji. Uzumaki Naruto, verify your identity. Naruto looked to Ginma, his red eyes bearing through the slits in his Anbu mask. He then spoke, I am its jailer. Ginma nodded, then yelled out, combatants ready. The sky, still as lightning rocketed across its clouded surface, was as dark as ever now. It cast an eerie sense around the arena, a sense of dread, a sense of doom. Niji wasted no time. Taking up his Juken stance, fight, he yelled as he jumped backwards, knowing that when the 2 clashed, there would definitely be fireworks. Neither of the combatants moved though both Niji and Naruto just stood, Still looking at each other, neither in the mood to make the first move, so Naruto decided to in a quick movement. Naruto reached for his sword, the bandages bursting to reveal a new sword. Though the bandages had remained their angelic white, the blade itself was a pitch black, and the blade came out of a pendant of a fox's mouth at the hilt. Naruto reared his sword back, then swung as Niji's eyes widened. Kenjutsu, demonic lunar fang. His sword glowed black with a red outline as he swung, the demonic blade of chakra flying at Niji. Thinking fast, Niji used a move he was going to save for later, but seemed he would have to use now. Kaiten as he spun, the sphere of chakra shielding him. You could not see Naruto's smirk as Naruto's attack hit Niji's ultimate defense. The crowd and Niji himself all expected the attack to be repelled, to be cast aside. They were dead wrong as the attack hit. Naruto's blade of chakra cut through the protective sphere of Niji's. Kaiten wore renting wide eyes from him before the attack hit him diagonally across the chest, and he was sent flying back, his Kaiten disappearing. Naruto scowled slightly. He had expected that to be the finishing blow, but even as blood spurted from the wound in Niji's chest, he slowly stood. It seemed he had indeed underestimated the young Hyuga. At full strength, that attack could cut through his own most powerful attack, demonic burst, and at that attack's most powerful, the Kaiten would become literally obliterated. But he had held back, putting in just enough chakra to get through the Kaiten and kill Niji. Apparently, the Kaiten was stronger than he thought. It significantly lowered the strength of the attack, and thus, Niji was still alive right now, but not for much longer. Naruto began to sprint towards Niji, his form becoming a blur. As he did not touch the ground, he glided through the air, the dust by his feet moving as he cut through. XXXX, he's gliding, yelled Ino. Her amazement clearly evident in her voice. Sakura had her eyes wide too. It was almost surreal watching him glide, and yet she found herself asking the question once again, what was Naruto? Kyubi, the word popped into her head. She had to confirm it today. She just had to. XXXXXXXXX, his sword at his side as he approached a stunned Niji, as he quickly attempted another Kaiten. Naruto noticed this, and while he was gliding, he touched his foot to the ground, then used that foot to propel himself towards Niji. Niji did not expect the sudden burst of speed as Naruto came within striking distance in less than a second. The crowd roared as Naruto brought his sword in front of him, then sliced at Niji. Sliced. The crowd was silent. As both combatants stood, frozen, Naruto behind Niji, his back to Niji. Niji stood, looking transfixed, staring into nothing, his opponent behind him, but unnoticed by Niji. The dust settled and all was still as the combatants still stood frozen. Then suddenly, Niji coughed, lurching forward as he fell. He hit the ground with a thud. The thunder roared as Naruto took one last glance at the fallen Niji, before beginning to walk away, speaking as he did, "Proctor, this match is over." Genma nodded. "I deem the winner of this match, Uzumaki Naruto." Only thing was, Niji did not move. Naruto kept walking, his gaze unmoving, his face unseen. Genma knelt beside Niji, checking for some kind of pulse. There was none. He looked over to the figure of Naruto, whom was walking back to the contestants' box. He then whistled, and in seconds medic ninja came. They put Niji onto a stretcher, and were quickly off, and Naruto continued to walk, even as the crowd realized finally just what had happened. He's a killer. He killed him. He's a monster. Naruto took it all in stride. No comments fazed him any longer. They were all fools and could die for all Naruto was concerned. He reached the box, and blurred out of sight. Appearing in the box, he leaned all the walls, as the other contestants looked at him, all of them having the same thoughts. They feared him. Sanako's thoughts were frantic. This was the true Naruto, the Naruto that had defeated Zensuke, the Naruto that was strong enough to take on anyone, the Naruto that was a killer. Naruto was slightly surprised as someone walked up to him and spoke. Brutal efficiency, good as ever. Naruto looked at Jacob, his mind recalling something Jacob had said to him at the preliminaries, right after the numbers were given. Flashback, the participants disappeared to their various Jounin senseis, and Naruto was about to do the same, until somebody walked up behind him. He recognized his presence. "And by the way, don't worry about before the exam. I'm a fan. I would do nothing to ever harm you. And since I am such a fan, that is the reason why it is my obsession to kill you, to prove to you I am stronger. You will die, Naruto, simply because I'm a fan." He smiled innocently as he walked away, waving at Naruto while he walked. "See you in a month." Flashback end. "Win your match. I'm looking forward to fighting you." Sanako grit his teeth. Jacob's match was versus him. "I will do so after all. I couldn't miss an opportunity to fight you, he smiled. Naruto nodded, as the crowd continued to roar. But Genma soon calmed them down. He announced the next combatants, Sasuke Uchiha vs Sabaka no Gaara. In a whirl of sand, Gaara appeared center stage. Motionless he took in the proctor, then turned looking to the spot that Sasuke would be soon standing opposite him. Only problem was, Sasuke was nowhere to be found. Naruto of course had noticed his absence and also the absence of Kakashi. That didn't bode well, considering Naruto knew exactly what was to come following the exams. If Kakashi wasn't here, that would put Konoha at a great disadvantage. It would mean nobody to help the Sandaime with the Raikage, and that would be problematic. Thinking fast, he ran through a few hand seals, then hit the ground with his palm, surprising the other combatants in the box. A plume of smoke erupted, and as it disappeared it revealed a small frog. Gamakichi, Naruto spoke. Hey boss. The other combatants watched the display. I need you to take this note to Kakashi. You should be able to find him since he's tagged. Gamakichi nodded, taking the small skull in his hands, then securing it on his back. Be back in no time boss. Naruto nodded as Gamakichi disappeared in another plume of smoke. He stood, then decided to formulate a plan. He looked over at the Kage booth, seeing the Hokage, the Kazekage, and the leader of the Hidden Sound. He smirked. Sasuke not showing up would give him the perfect opportunity to force the Raikage's hand, to make him start the invasion. And how would he set that in motion? Simple: the assassination of the Kazekage. XXX1 brilliant strategy, Kazekage-sama. This brought all three Kage's attention to the Chunin Sand ninja who stood at the side of the booth. Ah, Chunin-san, what brings you here? One piece of knowledge: Temari requests an audience, though she thought you may have been busy, so requested I ask as for formal purposes. The Kazekage nodded. Well, bring her in. The Chunin nodded, leaving the booth. Before a moment later, Temari walked in. One shadow clone. Father, I just meant to give you this note. The Kazekage looked surprised, but nodded as Temari approached him. As they were close, the Raikage couldn't help but feel that something was off. One Uzumaki Naruto would make all the difference. Before the Kazekage knew what had happened, he began to fall forward, and he fell to the ground with a thud. Temari standing over him. The Raikage moved the quickest, not sparing any time to think over what happened. He was upon Temari in a second as he grabbed her throat and forced her to the ground. The impact broke tiles off the floor, but then she promptly burst into smoke. Shadow clone, the Raikage thought. Then his eyes went wide in realization. He looked towards the competitor's booth and there he saw him, looking straight at him. They locked glares for a second, and in that moment the Raikage knew his plan was compromised. But perhaps this was a blessing in disguise. It no longer meant he had to be cautious, since now he had to start the attack. He might as well start it by putting the odds in his favor. So, I see you knew. Well then, no sense in hiding it, the Raikage exclaimed as he rushed at the sitting Sandaime. The Raikage was a blur and he was upon the Sandaime before he could do anything about it. The Raikage reached for his throat. The Hokage's bodyguard tried to intervene, but was pushed out of the way by the Raikage's bodyguard. Killer Bee disappear. Naruto appeared in front of the Sandaime, and the Raikage's hand was promptly intercepted with his own. Their hands were both locked, each trying to force the others to break. The Raikage though was surprised at this new arrival, and his speed. Uzumaki Naruto, do not interfere, and we will not harm you. Naruto's chakra raged, his red eyes glowing for a second, before returning to normal, his face still hidden by his Anbu mask. Naruto then released his chakra, a haze of red surrounding him, the power radiating, forcing the Raikage's hand to bend. The Raikage grit his teeth, before he conjured his own chakra, the aura of power surrounding him. While Naruto's was red, his was blue. They were back on equal power, with the Raikage gaining slight ground on Naruto. Seeing this, Naruto growled as his chakra soon became black with a red hue. His chakra exploded outward as he growled once more, forcing the Raikage away and making the Sandaime stumble a few steps backwards. As the aura of Naruto's chakra died off, it revealed the Raikage standing with Killer Bee beside him. Stand down Uzumaki, we do not wish to harm someone who can become a powerful member of our village. Yo, listen to my bro. He's the Raikage for show. His advice will let you live, Tebeo. Naruto looked complicant as he stared them down. He had no intention of joining them, quite the contrary, he was going to kill them. Raikage, that is not an option. I suggest you commence your attack before your people lose their leader. The Raikage grit his teeth, Ha boy, you think you're able to defeat me? At your age. You're still green genin. I admit you're strong for your age, but don't get cocky, I'm way ahead of you, Naruto smirked. Is that what you think? Very well, disappear. The Raikage's eyes widened as Naruto disappeared in front of him. He literally just ceased to exist then. He felt a powerful jutsu tear into his stomach, as Naruto appeared in front of him, red Rasengan, armed Rasengan. As his stomach was ripped apart by the jutsu, the Raikage promptly disappeared in a plume of smoke, to reveal that it was a log. Naruto's eyes widened, but he sensed movement to his right. He turned his head to see Killerby rushing him as he drew a single blade. Reacting quickly, Naruto unsheathed his black blade. As it radiated with chakra demonic lunar fang, he swung his blade at Bees and they both clashed, but Naruto's blade quickly broke through Bees and sliced him across the chest. Bees' eyes widened as he quickly jumped away before Naruto could try and continue the assault. As he landed, the Raikage blurred beside him. Naruto turned to them slowly, looking at them. He then turned to look at the Sandaime, who was now behind him. He also saw Bake kneeling beside the dead Kazekage. He then looked to the audience, and saw that the ninja were now realizing just what was going on, and the Konoha nin were about to move in to protect the Sandaime. He smirked. Konoha ninja are converging on this position. It's now or never. Raikage. The Raikage grit his teeth, then flashed through hand seals before holding his right hand to the sky. Out of his palm came a thin beam of chakra. It traveled skyward towards the gray skies, and as it hit the sky erupted with light, and then, a single lightning bolt struck the center of the field, just missing Genma and Gaara. That was the signal. The sound of several kunai flying through the air became apparent, and the sounds of kunai clashing soon followed. The attack had begun. The Raikage grit his teeth, but then smiled as he spoke. So Kyuubi, what now? Naruto frowned, but then he smiled too demonically. Your death shall come swiftly, but I can't assure you it won't be painful. And then he felt a burning sensation in his palm, and as he looked down, he saw the seal he put there glowing. He smirked. He knew he could count on those toads when he had given Gamakichi the message. It was to one of the Toad Elders. He requested them to find Kakashi and Sasuke, and reverse summon them to Mount Myaboku. Then they would use the seal Naruto put on himself to alert him when they were ready. Then, Naruto would summon the Great Elder along with Kakashi and Sasuke. The Raikage wondered why he was smiling, but then Naruto smashed his palm into the ground, a plume of smoke erupting. The Raikage and Killerby jumped backwards, getting into stance, ready to take on a summon. But as the smoke cleared, it revealed Kakashi and Sasuke. The Raikage widened his eyes. How is that possible? Now the advantage of the copy ninja's absence is gone. Naruto, I got them here as you requested, said the toad, Fukasaku. Hi, your help is no longer needed. Fukasaku nodded, then disappeared in a plume of smoke. Kakashi looked around, as did Sasuke. It seems the battle has already started. Kakashi spoke. Sasuke's eyes widened. Battle? What battle? Naruto shook his head. Sasuke, useless as ever. Kakashi, the plan will still go accordingly. Are you ready? Kakashi turned around, quickly taking in the Raikage and Killerby. He then turned back to Naruto. Got it, he said as he lifted his headband, revealing his Sharingan. Naruto then spoke aloud. Now Raikage, this is our signal. Fire style, fire dragon jutsu, and with a few hand seals, Naruto breathed a huge fire dragon into the sky. And as the ninja of Konoha saw the dragon, they knew exactly what it meant. It was time to go all out for Konoha. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. Guys, make sure to help the author by visiting the link in the description. This is Foxsage, and I'm signing off.